From a layered brownstone to polished city apartments, today we're taking you inside 4 beautiful New York City homes that each tell a distinctly personal design story. First, we'll see a collector's paradise inside Clara Aich's historic 1800s brownstone. In 1978, she bought this crumbling, snow-filled building. Skylights collapsed, plaster sculptures scattered, roof half fallen, but refused to be deterred by the building's derelict state. Now it's filled with history and treasures from over 40 years of living there. Then we're off to see the Tribeca apartment of Samantha Braucht, a designer and content creator who masterfully blended French modern elegance with family life in the city. Next, whimsy meets wit in this refined apartment on Riverside Drive, where interior designer Camille Taylor transformed a once dated apartment into a layered New York home. And finally, event designer and interior decorator Jared Reichert shows us around his Chelsea apartment with Palm Springs flair and a dreamy rooftop garden. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. And be sure to check out our new show with interior designer Martin Lawrence Bullard, streaming exclusively on Homeworthy Plus.
My name is Clara Aich, and I live in New York, and I'm from Budapest, Hungary. I arrived here with $100 in my pocket, and basically on the will of my parents, because you're not supposed to really leave too young. I bought this building in 1978 and moved in 1979. And the whole building is just a labor of love. From the beginning on being a ruin, the roof, the floor was snow in the ground, sculptures were lying around, the roof was half collapsed. And I said, it doesn't matter, I love it. And that was it, love to the first sight. I hope this building will continue to have its history and remain in hands they will appreciate it forever. Either for students to continue learning here or something worthwhile, because the building itself has a history. It would be a pity to let it go. A lot of exciting things have been happening here in the past and presently as well. And I just hope that it will carry on for years to come or forever.
To get early and ad-free access to Clara's home tour, go to homeworthyplus.com or scan the QR code on screen.
I have been very, very lucky in my life because I had fantastic parents, and my mother was an art historian. I had all kinds of dreams, but she said, no, I think photography would be good for you. Both my parents were very educated and very art-oriented. We traveled to Italy, we traveled to see some of the antiquities. Then later on, of course, I traveled to Greece and everywhere else, and art was always part of it, somehow my interest. And music, I have to say that too. And of course, being a little bit of a nomad myself, I just traveled the world. I see beauty in most of the things. Even if it's ugly, I think it's beautiful or something is interesting. So I was going around with some brokers and I did not like anything at all. Everything was just dark or boring or uninteresting. So the broker brought me in here and said, well, you might find an interesting place. So he brought it in and I said, that's it. It was a total ruin. It was a ruin like to be torn down, basically. The roof, the floor was snow in the ground, sculptures were lying around, the roof was half collapsed. And I said, it doesn't matter, I love it. And that was it. Love to the first sight. I had no idea how much work it will be. I have never been in construction. I just loved it. I didn't want to change anything at all. I said, I wish I could just leave it as it is. With the pieces on the floor, it had its atmosphere and maybe I thought I'm in Italy or maybe I'm in Greece or in Turkey through the ruins I'm walking through. But maybe the reason was that it connected me to other places for some sort of a fantasy, I don't know. But I just loved it as it was. After I walked in here and I saw all these plasters, and I said, well, whatever I can keep, I like to keep. And there was already an issue at it, because the broker was very smart, and he already had a contract of selling the plasters. So I said to him, if I'm buying the building, I must have the pieces. Otherwise I won't buy the pieces. That's sort of, I don't know why, was part of I really, it belonged here. Well, you are here at my salon, so to say, my living room, as we call it, but it's not just living room, it's a community room. Many of my friends are coming here, we hang out here, there is great music is being performed. So this is the place where we are now, and this is how it looked like. As you see, the sculptures all over the place, there's snow on the ground, the skylights are half collapsed already, and this is what I tried to keep it as it was, but it was impossible because I needed to have a place without dust and without dirt and all that. So I had to change it, unfortunately, but I tried to keep it as much as I could. And just showing a little bit here some of my work here, which you see the graffitis. There was a project, I worked on it for a while, and then the rest of the sculptures are whatever was left here, and I managed to rescue it. And kind of funny things here you find, which I found on all kind of places in the world. And this is a little auctions, a little pipe here. This is from Africa. This is a fortune-telling plate here. This is a beautiful coral necklace here, which I bought it with me back from Africa. So that is here. Surprised that it's still here and it's not ripped apart yet all these years. This is a funny little game here, which I have found it on a tech sale in the Hamptons, but it's kind of sarcastic a little bit, but it's fun. There were two more of these fantastic plasters here. I don't know what had really happened to them. It was way at the beginning and they were in pieces on the floor, so I could not rescue it, unfortunately. So, but all the other four are on, and it's very much of interest, life here, comedy and tragedy. I should say that with a little sarcastic remark. This is life. Higher up, there I have my favorite one is the lion. I have no idea where it was made for, but I just love him. Many times for an evening, we turn around the light and just lighting it up, the lion. So that's my lion. Some of this beam had to be moved because it was too high up, and the lights were, so that was a major effort. So that beam was dropped down 1 foot. So I also have at least a chance to put things on it. I love living with carpets, and I guess I would love to be a nomad, living only with carpets on the wall, on the floor, on chairs, but it's also a lot of work to keep them also the dust off. This is a very beautiful lamp which a friend of mine gave it to me. Her husband was Hindu, Indian, and when they moved and they had no room for it, they said it's for me. So it's here. If you look at any of these little pieces, I mean, they're so adorable that sometimes I'm using them as I used it as an invitation for a party invitation. I photographed it and I saw that it was just perfect. Look at it, so refined, the faces and expressions. For a while I was sort of taken by graffiti, and everywhere I looked, what's happening in New York and where are the latest graffitis which I had discovered in Brooklyn, in Queens, in Long Island. So on times when we were not busy with my assistant, we just took off with the car. It was a 4.5 camera, it's all on film. And we just were covering it. I have about over 100 different pictures. It also had a show. And then when it came back from the show, I didn't know what to do with it, so I hang them, some of them I hang them up on the wall. And here they are. There's many more, but I have no room. I have no wall space. So here they are. Whatever I can, I enjoy them. Having this picture was just an accident, that there was a blue car right there. That was a pure accident, and I just had to wait there. These 3 kids were playing balls there, and I just asked them to sit on it. They were come to pose. So that was actually a lot of fun. That was a great project because the people we have found, they all enjoyed it, working and being modeling it, and give them Polaroids. We were shooting Polaroids before, and they were getting the Polaroids. So these were some, now they're memories, but they can be anytime a show if there is someone interested. having many more on a couple of them more on the wall here. So now this is everything is sort of a little bit of a hodgepodge, as they say, coming from various parts of the world. This carpet has a little story. That's why I'm bringing you here. I was in Amsterdam and I saw a store there, and they had carpets, and I went in there with a friend of mine, and there was a very, very nice gentleman there, and recommended me to take that because he said that's very valuable. I don't quite know that much about it, but I trusted it. And he sold it to me, and he did not ask to pay. He said, when you back to New York and you received it, that's when you pay. I thought that was the most elegant, most noble way to be a salesman in a place, your own place, because I would just go back again to try to find him and get another piece. Then what else is here to say then is this piano here, which is very special for me because it's also a friend of mine who is no longer with us, left this piano for here for the studio. It is 130 years old, and I was told that it has a very beautiful, sweet voice, and it's in perfect shape, and it's been performed in a number of concerts here. And what you see on the top of it, that's just kind of fun, just kind of little hobbies of additional instruments. But you would not believe they've been steadily being used. Because if there is somebody here, another musician who is here and has no instrument, picks it up right away and does some music with it. Musicians always find a way to play music, whatever, even if it's 2 forks or a knife or whatever, they just beat it. And that's exactly some of them. This is a little child's guitar, but it's perfect. Actually, it works. I love music. I am a big music aficionado. I live actually almost with music all the time. That's why all my friends are either musicians or something. This is from India, that piece here. A friend of mine was going to send some Indian furniture here in order to have America representing him here. And it never really worked because the furniture cracked when the time it arrived. So I landed up with it, so which is great. It has a few cracks in it, which I like, because it makes it more antique. And so we have that piece here. And then all these pieces on it, I got them in Indonesia, in Bali, Garuda. This is the area of a music area for me, which is very important, because all my CDs, partially my CDs, because there's so many more, unfortunately many of them have been packed up at some point when there were these theater performances here, and they never got unpacked, and also there's no more room anymore, so I have to start figuring out where else I'm putting more CDs on it. Many times I organized it, but that's just kind of was a dream. It never stayed like that. People were coming and taking some out, and they just left it there. And what you see above it, this is the painting of my father, who at that time lost his sister, and there was a funeral at the restaurant, and he had this expression on his face, which I thought it was very haunting, and I photographed him. And a friend of mine made a painting out of that photograph. So this is how it's here with me. He was, of course, a big smoker, so there's always a cigarette in his hand. But he has an expression of looking sort of far away and memory. And then next to it, it's which is very memorable for me. Joel Bishop O'Brien was a great friend, a fantastic musician, and he wrote that piece of music for me. And we have it also recorded. I have it on CD as well. These are some earlier drawings of a friend of mine who did it from me while lying in a swimming pool, and a portrait of myself. This is one of my German Shepherds. So it's a little bit of a family here. The drawings is, and the portraits from Alex Ruch, and he did a book with it and photographed them a lot. He was a great painter, and I still know the family very well. So this lamp, it is very, very beautiful for me. A friend of mine who moved, and I looked at through her, basically her garbage in the basement, which she was going to leave behind. And this lamp was just in pieces. And I said, what is this? What is that? And then she said, oh, you can have it. And so I took it and I had it fixed up, and I love it since. I don't quite know exactly. We tried to figure out the writing. It is from Libya or Tripoli, or there was all kind of remarks on it, but it was unsure about it. But it's definitely decorative, and I love it. And at nights when there is, where the place is fairly dark and just some candles, then it lights very beautifully. Well, I was born in Budapest in Hungary, and that was shortly in war times and after war times. And the family had a lot of difficulties, political difficulties, and I'm not that happy to talk about it, because most people don't even know what was going on in the 50s in Hungary. And the family has been deported because we were not part of the existing government at that time. Father was arrested, and all that is a lot of sad stories behind it, but somehow with children, my sister and myself, again, we took it with a lot of happiness, because we were in the country and there were animals there, and it was not so bad for us, for children. For the parents was another story. And then, of course, it came the Hungarian Revolution, and shortly after we managed, the family, to come out to Vienna, to Austria. I wanted to go to an art school, and I was already drawing and doing some paintings, and I thought that I'm just going to be an artist, as I said. But my mother thought that I might not be strong enough as an artist, and she suggested to be a photographer. Would I be interested? And I said, yes, of course, why not? I didn't even have a camera in my hand before. So she chose the right profession for me, and I will be forever grateful in her memory. It kept my interest going, it kept my artistic interest going, plus my little bit of being a nomad. I enjoyed traveling the world with a camera. So I was very lucky that, as I said again, fantastic parents. Even in the difficulties, even the situation in Austria, where we were just coming out after the revolution and started to stand on the family on its own feet again. It was wonderful that I had a great guidance. So this is another part of the house, and that's where I really live these days. This is my great-grandfather. It's a beautiful marble piece. It's my mother packed it. I was in Vienna asking what can I bring back with me, so I have something from the family. And my mother said to me, well, what would you like to have? And I said, well, I like to have this sculpture. And there was a frame downstairs and a few things which I pulled together, and that was one of them. And we were very much worried that it might not arrive in one piece, but it was very well packed. And it did arrive. It was also with me in the apartment, and it moved with me. So it's here. This one you have to see. It's from a friend. They were designers, and when they moved, they gave me whatever they didn't want, whatever they about to throw away. But the whole thing is absolutely the most beautiful workmanship. So I don't even know how anybody can these days even think about it to make these designs. This is all probably was done in the 19th century, at least, you know. The reason why there is a glass door here and there is also a railing, because I had a client where I had to shoot down on carpets and on all kind of products. and they had to be high enough without a stepladder to go up there and shoot straight down. So now this is why this railing is removable. But you have to watch it where you stand. And so that is why we have the glass. And then of course the other thing is that later on I could separate it so I can, the different heating systems in the house, this floor has its own heating system. And I could keep it warm here and not to heat the large studio. So this is a little bit of the family here. It is my sister, my nanny, my mother, my father here, and sort of the little gallery, great-grandfather in an Austrian hunting outfit. This is a gamelan, Balinese instrument, which is absolutely beautiful. I love it. When I never learned it, but I always wanted to go to the Indonesian Council. They have Balinese performances there, so I wanted to always learn, or Indonesian. Well, the most important thing is what I think you have to see this incredible the Last Supper here. And I'm just standing there, and they did a really absolutely beautiful job for a model here. Would be worthwhile to make bronzes out of it. I would almost love to do that. And also the little cherubs up there singing. These are two of my special pieces. I love them very much. At first it was all offices here, while the studio was really working as a photo studio with printers and assistants and meeting place. That was not a living place here. I extended a little section here from here to there, so that's new. The place was too short. I did not want to have a big bathroom here, a huge block here. So I had to figure out what to do. And I had I know an Indian architect who was working with me a little bit on this one. We had to figure out how to make this possible, that there is not a blocked-in bathroom. So this is, it was a major effort. I should not say that, but it really was a major effort. It was welded here, and I was very much worried that the sparkles are going to be all over the place. Then it was an effort to try to find the glass, which is secured glass and it's not see-through, and on and on and on. So that was really work of love here. But I really love it. This one fits in very nice. And then the other part here, I have found it just in one of the stores, and I have found out who is the one who doing it. And I went there somewhere out in the boondocks, and I found that he had one stock, and I brought it here. And then this was the shower place. That was another ordeal. Everything was an ordeal in this place, because this is glass, had to be done, and then I had to find the bronze here. I had to have it bend it and fit in exactly, and that was the architect was very helpful. This one was another thing. It's actually a fireplace screen, which I'm using here as a curtain here. The fireplace works here. So because I don't know why, I had just visualized myself that I'm having a beautiful bath here in front of the fireplace, and then I have my bed right away, going to bed, and then the whole thing is all together. And I don't have to go from room to a bathroom and to a fireplace and to a bedroom. So I wanted to put them all here things together, which it did. The fireplace works beautifully. That is, and then of course there is more. There's just endless plants throughout the years, and they're here with me for I don't know how many years by now, but they're still alive. This is my favorite bed, of course. It came from Bali, and came in million pieces and was very heavy. And for a long time I didn't know what to do with it. It was in the back of the studio because I did not live here, and I had a place uptown, and it was just sitting there and sitting there. But when finally this place became my living quarters, then we managed to put it together, and ever since it's here. And I love it. It's very stable and it's a great size, and sort of overlooking a little bit. The view is not the greatest, but it is what it is. So this is St. Stefan, who is actually was the one who made Hungary civilized when the Huns had arrived and they were wild, and he was a king. And he is the one who was right here. I could not believe that you see the Hungarian crown on him. So that was really unbelievable. So that's when I knew that this is my place here. So my father that's also, I got this painting from Vienna, so I asked for this painting, and they had sent it to me. It was at the First World War. He was a hussar, and he still went to the First World War with a horse. So this is how, and he's wearing his hussar uniform, and it's amazing. I heard all the stories from him from the First World War, how there was in Italy, and on and on and on. So I'm very fortunate to have that painting. It was a 7th Hussar Regiment, which was very, very rare and very precious kind of. This is another grandpa, father, and a grandmother in front of me, and actually her name is Clara Aich. So this is how I got my name. The fixing up was really a scenario, so to say, because before the closing, somebody told me it's going to cost you at least $100,000. At that time, I looked at $100,000. I had $10,000, and that is not going to take me too far. But I said, doesn't matter. I will just do the minimum, and then it's slowly, as I have work, it's going to fix it up more. And that's basically what happened. Then I applied for a loan, a small business loan. So then the small business loan took another 3 months or 4 months till it came through. Then I could at least do the floor and the ceiling. So little by little, if you really like what you do, you succeed. You just have to want it. Once you really know what you want, you will make it. It doesn't matter, you know. The building has 6 working fireplaces, but only 2 of them have been relined, and the other one has to be relined too. But it was so far not necessary. This would be very necessary to do that, and that's the next project. There's always a project in this house, but they have to open up till all the way up, and it's a lot of mess and a lot of complications. So anyway, there. Other than that, pieces are all here, being just. This is Bacchus, whom I love very much. He has a naughty look on his face. If you go close up on it, look at he's smiling. And that's what I think. I don't know. I named him. So that's it. I have no really history on him, but I accepted it. Some of these lamps were from Indonesia, and I love them, but the problem is that everybody knocked them over, and now they have to be repaired, and that's getting to be a bit of a problem. They're not very stable, and if there's a party, there's a lot of actions here. My old apartment on 84th Street was photographed at House and Garden. And this is a spread in it, and it's also my German Shepherd in there, which is at least somewhere should. And the most beautiful, fantastic fireplace, which is still this is a Stamford White building, I think anyway. And this is still from Hungary. My parents gave that to me. I brought it over, and this is the major floor here. My apartment was the spread here. Very high ceilings, a beautiful floor, and it was a small apartment. It was very sad to give it up, but it was just too much going on here, so I had to. The ceiling has all the wood here is original, except this section. This is the section I extended it from just above you, where you see the sheetrock on it. The rest is all. This section is all original. It was all kind of painted over, and the paint was coming, and I scraped the whole thing, all the wood, so the whole house I had to scrape it off. So that was another major dust and dirt and just work, plain work. And so many small little pieces were left here. I couldn't part from them, and I just hung them everywhere where I could. Whatever I could save, I saved it. I hung them in very, very funny ways. Some of these pieces, that's from Bali, from Indonesia. These doors, I got it. I got it from a friend of mine. They had a design studio, and when they moved, they were so tall that they had nobody else to give it to. So I said, I can use it, so I can also open them up and close them. But so all this. Then here, some of my photographs from the Himalayas, North India, traveled them many years ago. So this is my office. This is always in a chaos, even if I'm steadily trying to straighten out, but between the filings, between the cabinets and extra books, they arrive here. Whatever first thing I put down here when I come in from outside, and it takes some time till I'm putting it away again. Computers left from the country, and papers and bills and whatnot. This is a painting which I'm very fond of. It's from a friend of mine who is unfortunately no longer with us. Bernard Childs has a lot of important work also in the museums, and I photographed a lot of his paintings, and afterwards he gave me what I can choose it, so I chose this one, which he called it the mole. I don't know why the mole. I saw something else in it, but that's beside it. That's a little naughty. The umbrellas is my genius design, because there was always dust here on the table here. So when I found these umbrellas on an auction, there's a great auction next to me upstate, which I'm there. I have a small little place upstate in the area, Rhinebeck, Red Hook. And George Cole is his name, and he has always some unusual pieces. So when I saw these pieces, I said, well, that would be, if I hang them, then I get rid of the dust here. And it worked. I don't want to know what's inside, how many years of dust sitting there, but let's not move it and leave it just there. This frame, my parents sent it to me, because at some point they sent it to me, one box of quite a big container of a few things. I wanted it from Vienna and from Hungary. And this frame it came in pieces, and then I put it together. And then of course I had the problem, tried to find a glass maker who puts a glass in it which doesn't look too new. So it gets a little bit of a patina, but it's and then this one was from my old apartment. So a lot of things are just from there and there and there. I worked for a fashion photographer in Vienna who was the best actually. And she told me, if you ever want to be a good photographer, you have to see the world. So she was again somebody who supported me in my professional life. And she told me that she was in America and she worked for a photographer, and she will write to him. And she wrote to him, and his name was Hans Namuth. And he said, well, you come here. If I need somebody, I might hire you, but I cannot promise. So I arrived here with $100 in my pocket, and basically on the will of my parents, because you're not supposed to really leave too young. At least you have to be 21 years old. And so I worked for him as an assistant, which was fantastic. My impression was very interesting, because I came in with a bus in the evening, and I was just sitting there, and I said that was a whole new world. And I felt very free, of course, finally leaving the family, which I shouldn't say that. But but when you are 21 years old and you're suddenly free, then it's just a great feeling. And then I saw that the place where I stayed, they gave me a summer to take care of, also for the photographer, for the animals. And I already started to take care of the dark rooms, and while he was traveling in Europe. And so I saw so many people. They were so tired looking, so worked. Their faces were so joyless. They just were running on the streets. And I said, this is funny. I was so up and so energetic, and I saw so many people just kind of worn out and kind of sad. And I said, well, this is strange. But I wasn't thinking too much about it because life was just moving forward. And then later on I worked for other photographers. I became a freelance assistant, which was the best training for me, working with different photographers on different assignments. So slowly I started to get assignments. Art directors liked working with me because I sticked with the job and I delivered it on time, and that was very important, to a certain most important, at least in the eyes. And then little by little I started to get a lot of cosmetic jobs, and I moved a little bit to another place to find a little studio, and it was difficult because you don't have really money, you need equipment, you don't have equipment, you need to rent a space, but it somehow moved forward with a lot of will and believe in it myself somehow, that I just wanted to show my parents that I will not go under, that I will succeed. And it was very important. The first assignment I did get, and it was printed, immediately I sent it home to make sure that my parents see that I'm okay. So that was very important for me to prove myself, because my mother did not want it to leave me, and if something was not very nice, but she said that I might go under, so to say, a young girl in a big city. Years back, when I moved in here, the neighborhood at that time was called very bad. And they said, you were going to be robbed here, you should not come here, and your clients will not come here. And I didn't thought so. I thought the neighborhood was absolutely perfect. There was nothing wrong with the neighborhood. There was a lot of Spanish-speaking people. They were very nice, old gentlemen. They're still talking about it. The two gentlemen are still around, rather old, but they remember when I came here and I set it up a table for them outside, and they played cards in front of the house. And I went out there and I brought them coffee and beer, and it was very homey. It was almost like a little family. And there was another photographer down the road. There was a fortune tellers on the corner of 3rd Avenue. It was a neighborhood. So it was very, very charming. So I was never afraid. Everybody just called me Clarita, Clarita, and it was great. I kept this floor kind of empty because I was going to do fashion shooting here, and I needed empty walls. So it remained a little bit in the contemporary style, and I didn't put up too many things here. So now the pulley is, it was used, they used it, it goes all the way down here. We can lift this up here. I made sure that this is working, and it goes down all the way down. And it's working. Everything is moving here in every direction. And then this way. They were moving the sculptures from here. This was a storage room here. This is where they had all the sculptures here. I put up the staircase there. And there is a bathroom there and the sauna there, so on that one. And this one was they used this here. They were, and myself, we moved everything from here. When I came here, this was unlivable here, and so it had to be emptied out, and we emptied it and moved it down here. It's still underneath the old floor here, so this is on top of the old floor. So this I had to change. I could not keep the old floor there. So for me, when I came to New York was the place. I mean, that was the town of where I will be learning, where I can enjoy myself or whatever, grow up, my second part of my life. I didn't plan to stay here forever. At some point I thought I will be back in Vienna, but it just never happened. I started to get assignments, and so I just stayed. And then, of course, I fell in love with this building, and that was the end of it. That became a project of life. Now I don't know where I would go now, because that's why I'm here all this time. And New York had all these versatilities. The city is amazing, at least at the time. Now I'm not so much aware of it, but lot of unusual buildings and It's a very exciting city in a way. It was, for me, at least at the time, actually I do love New York. Otherwise I would have left already. I hope this building will continue to have its history and remain in hands they will appreciate it forever. It either as a theater or either as a place for music, either for students to continue learning here, or something worthwhile, because the building itself has a history. It would be a pity to let it go. As for myself, as life will go on, I'd like to still finish up many of the existing projects I still have in the drawer, and I did not have time to work on it, but maybe now, little by little, I have more time and I can finish it up. If it's a book, if it's a video, if it's a short film, which has been all a little bit part of it. So I hope that will be a continuation until I'm here in this planet.
Today we're stepping inside the New York City apartment of Samantha Braucht, a designer and content creator who has masterfully blended French and modern elegance with toddler life in her New York City apartment. This pre-war home was once a sterile white box, but has been transformed into a whimsical home inspired by her childhood in a Victorian house filled with French mirrors and antiques. From building IKEA cabinets into custom credenzas to creating her daughter Eloise's pink Eloise at the Plaza bathroom with hand-drawn wall art and peel and stick tile, Samantha does all the handiwork in the home. Drilling, sawing, and sourcing treasures from Facebook Marketplace. We'll explore how she's turned their living room into a playroom without sacrificing style, incorporated clever storage solutions for small space living, and created a home where French elegance meets toddler reality. This is a home where everything has been crafted with taste and creativity.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Samantha. Welcome to my home in Tribeca. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Samantha. I am a mom here in New York City. I do design content, and you're at my home here in Tribeca. I found this home one night panicking on Street Easy. My husband and I knew that we were going to be expecting and we needed to move, and this popped up late at night, and within seconds, we messaged the real estate broker and we somehow got lucky. The apartment before I started decorating was sterile. It's a beautiful pre-war building, but it had been renovated, as a lot of them are, to be white walls, gray bathroom, a very blank canvas. And so we needed to put some charm and character back into it. And so a lot of the focus has been around creating a space that works for my mental state for design and blending that with having a child and her growing needs, and making it fun and whimsical for her. I will say, growing up, my family was and is very into design. We traveled the world since I was little, all over Europe, and my home and room growing up reflected that. I had beautiful wallpaper walls, ceilings, a big chandelier in my room. Like, it wasn't your average kid's room, and so I would say I've brought a lot of that into what I'm trying to replicate. Okay, so we are gonna enter the living room, but the first thing I wanna talk about is this mask. It was actually my parents. I took it from them. I think they actually got it from one of those guys who sells like the African art outside of like the Met, before I was even born. So this would be, I'm not gonna answer how old that would be, but many decades old. And so I took this from them. This is an antique pot. You'll never guess where I found it, on Marketplace. And this is not Marketplace. This is also my parents. They brought this back from Europe many decades ago, and I love it. It's beautiful. big fan of this. So this used to be a living room. I have a beautiful travertine table that is in storage, but having a child, that would make zero sense, and thus we have turned it into our living room, but really more so playroom, because this is where she plays every day. Like, she comes out here and plays. We've got our mats, we've got our play blocks, we've got this ottoman that has storage, we have her table. This is an IKEA table, but I, again, jankily learned how to sew and made this cover for it. And so, yeah, this is her big play area. I mean, look, we're standing on a play mat right now. So this is the playroom, living room. So obviously we moved in here when I was pregnant. So we started decorating it for adults. This is one of my favorite things in the apartment. I love this mirror so much. We've got French sconces. Like, we made it my aesthetic and then tried to slowly blend in things for my daughter as she got older and as she needed them. Like, there used to be a playpen here. That's no longer here. But as she needs more, I try to find ways to blend her needs with things that I find still aesthetically pleasing, because I would go crazy if this was truly just a toddler's room out here. And so this is where we've landed, kid plus adult. This beautiful thing is 3 pieces of IKEA. It is what it is. In future home, this will not be here. In current home, this is kid storage space. I mean, it's literally kid storage space. It's the easiest way to house all of her things until we have more space. And then I still try to blend it in with things that are very me, like the sconces, like the pottery. I just recently got that lamp at the LES collection sale. And yeah, and so that's where we have it right now. Because we live in a New York City apartment where everything is one room, I despised being able to see a washer and dryer. Look, I know we're lucky to have one, but it's in my kitchen. It's in my kitchen, it's in my dining room, it's in my living room, and thus I put up, tension rod. I put up a tension rod bar. And I found a curtain, I hemmed it, and now I cover it. Some people absolutely hate this look, but for me, this is much more bearable than looking at a washer and dryer every day. So that's what this curtain is. I absolutely love decorating. If I could redo my life, I would have gone into interior design and gone to school for that. I didn't. And so now I just do a lot of decorating myself, obviously my own place. I help with my friends. I've done a couple of Airbnbs, and I would love to evolve this into something, more permanent when we, I film content that I hope helps people for what I do here. I do a lot of DIYs myself, but when we eventually leave this place and we do have something that's, our own and we buy, I plan on, documenting that and sharing that with everyone as well. This is the entrance of my bedroom, the entryway. You know the answer. Where did I get this beautiful mirror? Facebook Marketplace. You just need the right keywords, I'm telling you. You can find all the mirrors. This is a antique 17th, 18th, I'd have to look, century French tapestry, Facebook Marketplace. I stumbled upon this accidentally searching in a state that is not my own. It was like the South, obviously heavy French influence down south. Saw this and immediately bought it and had them ship it to me because it is so hard to get these. And so we love this, big fan. I found an artist online who was actually, the daughter of an artist. I believe he was selling his collection. I'm not sure, he might have passed away and she was selling a bunch of his prior early artwork. I was very fortunate and I was able to snag a few of his pieces. So I actually got this one, or 2 of his sketches, and then the big painting. And I found those via, you guessed it, and I love it. And so I had that framed, and that's how I got some art. You never know what you can find. This is our bedroom. This is our bed. It is a king-size bed that fits in here. I really like keeping the mix of modern and then more antique-y pieces like the brass lamps. The bed, I honestly think it was CB2, but I love it. I love white, I love bright, and then mixing in pieces that feel more unique to you, like this antique armoire. I believe it might be Danish. Unsure, don't hold me to that. But this holds a lot of extra storage because we don't have that much. And yeah, just mixing in pieces that to me feel very calming and that you want to be in the bedroom. This is Lady. She is a mini American Eskimo. She is maybe 14 years old, but you wouldn't know it. She is a miracle dog because she is not supposed to be here. She got cancer when she was 4 years old. I went through it. We did the radiation, we did the chemo. She wasn't supposed to last that long, and here we are. She's 14, and she's adorable and still here. This right here was when I first moved in with my now husband into our previous apartment. He hadn't fully come on board on my aesthetic yet, and so this is the one masculine-ish piece that we had purchased that was a blend. Now we've fully come on board, but I think it works. I like it. It's brown, it's gold. I think it's honestly CB2. But I think it works with tying in my brass elements in the room. I found this secretary desk on Facebook, but we use this when we need to do like calls or my husband has Zooms at home. And then we just paired it with this mid-century modern chair. Works out for us. This art I actually got from a family friend's art gallery back home in Pittsburgh. And then I paired it with 2 different frames and matted them, but I love them. I think that they're unique. I think they're fun. I think it's a nice mix of mixing antique with like more modern pieces, which is my style. And so here's our room. If I could change one thing, I'm gonna take that back. If I could change 2 things about this room, I would paint the walls, which I'm not going to do, and I would have overhead lighting, which there is nothing in the ceiling, and it kills me that I can't put like a really fun, big, bold light fixture. So hopefully in the future home. Designing for a kid, which I had never done before, is absolutely the most fun. My own personal design aesthetic for the rest of the apartment is very like French modern, I would call it. But with the kids' room, you get to have so much fun. There is no sad beige. It's colorful, it's whimsical. You can put things together that wouldn't normally go together, like different wallpapers. You just get to have so much fun with it. And so I absolutely love it. Like, nothing is too grand or too strange. It's all fun and cute and pretty. For the rest of the apartment in my style, I love antiques. That's what I grew up around. So you will find French mirrors everywhere. I love antique mirrors. I love antique accents, but I still try to make it feel a bit more modern. So I do try to incorporate some modern pieces like a couch or like our bed frame, for instance. So I try to blend the two, and I keep that very clean and antique and do my best there, while the kids' room is definitely more fun and whimsical, and same with her bedroom and bathroom. Welcome to my daughter's room. I would say this is my favorite room. We only have 2, but this is my favorite. Okay, let me take you through. I have so many pieces that I love in here, and I would say a lot of them I actually found on Marketplace. For instance, I found this French dresser on Facebook Marketplace. This, along with the wallpaper, were probably the first things in her then nursery. I put that up by myself when I was 8 months pregnant, not my husband. Just a little tidbit there. I mean, there's so many things in here that I love. We didn't paint the walls because I didn't want to paint them back, but I did paint little stencils around just to give it some life. You'll see a few more around the room. I found this swan, I don't know if you can see it, this swan lamp at a thrift store, and then I learned to sew, so I made my own lampshade. Her little bows that we keep because she wears bows every day. I have a lot of kids stuff. I still try to keep it kiddie. You won't find any beige, boring kid stuff in here. She loves her play kitchen. It's fully stocked with all of her foods. This thing right here, I don't know if anyone has one of these. This is an air vent. It is hideous, and I hated it. So I actually just took some of the peel and stick wallpaper, put it on top, and now we have a magnet board that we can hang her art from. So I thought that was a good idea. I love her swan. This is a French sconce that I found, I believe on Etsy, that I had rewired to be able to turn on and off easily. I love her antique crib. Yes, she's 3 years old. I have not gotten her out of the crib yet. I refuse to. I need her contained. It's pretty. We'll have to change it, I know. I recently made this tent because I wanted to, and I didn't want to spend the thousands of dollars on the ones that are pretty online. So threw this together. There's a hula hoop in here. There are so many beautiful tents that you can find, or really cheap ones on Amazon. And I wanted to customize one with fabric that I liked myself. And so I watched a couple DIY videos and then just kind of tried to do it myself. It wasn't that hard, honestly. So I got the fabric. I think this at like online on Etsy, this at maybe Hobby Lobby, which recently opened nearby. And so I kind of just figured out how to throw this together and made a tent. And it unties so she can hide herself in here if she wants to. But I thought it was a cute addition. I found these 2 pieces on Facebook Marketplace. This one actually kind of looks like her. I didn't know that at the time, but has turned out that way. And then what else? I like to store her toys in baskets. I think that's a really pretty way to get them off the floor and into storage that can still be out. She grabs from there all the time. I put that in myself. I rigged that to be a hanging light, so you can often find things, again, found it on Facebook Marketplace. I feel like this is a Facebook ad. I swear it's not. Nobody's paying me from them. I wish they would. But you can find a lot of good things. I put this curtain up to hide her sliding door because, like, this isn't the most aesthetic piece of furniture. So here's her closet with all of her little girl clothes because they're so cute, but I don't know. Just makes it easier to hide. I think it's pretty. And yeah, there's toys and books everywhere. I mean, it's still a kid's room. I have a bookcase here that has some of her dolls and the books that she can easily access. Here's some more of the little drawings I did on the wall because that is way easier to hide than a full wall of paint. And then some other things that may be helpful. I think clever storage is really important when you're in like an apartment like we are and you don't have a lot of storage options. So I actually have under here is a pull-out drawer. We got some Barbies, our medical kit, but this is just a great way to hide things. And then I also have another one, a basket under here, and some more toys. So that is what we are working with in her room. So I have recently created a dress-up corner. I wanted to use the space behind the door because it was dead space and it was obviously ugly. And so I thought it'd be the perfect place for a dress-up section. I got a antique brass bar. I believe I got that off Etsy. And I put a little basket for magic wands so she can come and play dress-up. For the bookshelf, there were some bookshelves out there that existed that were scalloped and they were very pretty, but they were also very expensive and they did not fit this specific space that I needed. So I figured I would make one myself. And so I ordered the scallop pieces. Again, got that right off Amazon. And I kind of just figured out a way to attach it, fill in any gaps, and then prime and paint it. And here we go. Wasn't that hard. All of this is stuff that I got for her, but there are a few things that were mine as a child. For instance, I had this book set growing up, and then this was my cow, and this was my little foot, and this is now hers. So there's a few things of mine that have made its way into her bedroom, but really most of it is all stuff that I got for her. Now, when we exit my daughter's room, we get into my aesthetic of the house, which again, I try to consider French modern, and starting with one of the first pieces we put into this apartment, due to our, again, lack of storage, is this piece that I actually built. These are IKEA kitchen cabinets that are then flush mounted, painted, and then I bought wood and stained it to put on top. Please excuse the child-proofed handles. I don't need a gash to the head. The mirrors I found, surprise, surprise, on Facebook Marketplace. I found them years ago, actually in, I think, Chicago, and brought them here. There was a blip on my map. And so this is Facebook Marketplace. These are from an antique store. And I also found this on Facebook Marketplace. I'm obsessed with this painting. I love it so much. I think it's so beautiful. And so yeah, so this is our storage cabinet. On this credenza is this book that I actually had made. It shows you where my love for design came from as I created a coffee table book, oh my God, years ago now, of the house that I grew up in. It's a little hard to hold, but just for reference, a lot of French mirrors, a lot of antiques, a lot of design. Grew up in a Victorian home. This is my bathroom. You can see the wallpaper in the bathroom. And this is my bedroom, again, with the wallpaper and the antique mirrors and the very similar styles. So I think this influences where I get it from today. I did want to show you this, I don't even know what to call it, wardrobe that I renovated. This was an old Art Deco piece that was falling apart. Truly, no good way to restore the veneer that was all peeled off. And so I decided to paint it and give us a little child side coat closet that we use because we don't have that much storage in our apartment. And so we use this for coats and shoes and winter accessories, a little mirror for her. But yeah, we just use this in our front door space for more storage. When designing with kids in the home, you really do have to be intentional in how you're going to use something, at least in a small space like here in New York City. So I can't just I would have a normal height console here if it were up to me. But because we need storage and we have a daughter who needs space, we have to be intentional in the pieces that we buy and how we're going to use them. So you can have fun with pieces all the time. You can play with color and shapes, but I think you have to think about how you're going to actually use them for your home. This mirror, like I said, you will find too many gold French mirrors in my apartment because if I see one pop up on Facebook Marketplace and I have a place to shove it, I am going to do that. So I found this on Facebook Marketplace and I use it as our entryway mirror. I'm telling you, it is a gold mine for French antique mirrors. I have this cutout, which again, if I owned this, we'd be putting some beautiful chandelier here. We don't own it. And thus, I felt the need to put something up here. I found some wallpaper that's peel and stick, and I found a way to stick it up. Does the color scheme really go with this? Absolutely not. Am I going to do anything about it? Also, absolutely not. So, we have a ceiling now. I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where my parents still are. My mom was in fashion. My family owned a clothing company in Pittsburgh. I left because that wasn't for me. I went to Arizona, needed some heat, and then after Arizona, I spent 13 years in Los Angeles where I worked in advertising and marketing. And then from there, I missed some East Coastness, I missed the people, and therefore I came on back with a company here in New York. But design and decorating has always been my passion and on the side. I have recently helped with some staging projects for some well-known people here in New York, but really I do it as a hobby and I just like to share it with others. I do also a lot of DIYs. I've learned to sew and I've been making things for kids, so who knows where that can lead as well. My daughter's bathroom. I have done so much. It used to be my husband's bathroom. I now allow him to share mine. But it was gray, it was awful, and I hated it. It literally drove me crazy. And thus we made it into a pink Eloise at the Plaza bathroom, which is funny because her name is Eloise. And so here we are. We have made it pink, okay? It's a pink bathroom. But I've drawn on the walls. I've drawn on the walls like Eloise did. There's the molding that I've put in. This is supposed to be a sconce. I don't know if you can tell, but that's what it's supposed to be. This is peel and stick tile. I think it's called Smart Tiles. This is just a piece of wood that I then painted and attached with double-sided tape. So again, this is all renter friendly in the sense that I hope it comes off easily. And then it's just little finishes. I found this off this storage, which we did not have. I found this on Facebook Marketplace, surprise, surprise. And then I painted these shelves. I put up a curtain rod. We couldn't actually remove this, so I ended up just putting one above it and putting a real curtain. This is not a shower curtain. This is a real curtain. And it still has a liner. So that we could make her bathroom feel more beautiful and pretty and chic, and it's still a bathroom. So I think we've come a long way from the horrible, sad gray bathroom that it was. The shelving, I honestly think I found these shelves at maybe Home Goods, and then I just painted them this like pink and green color and put those up. My daughter's 3. We have traveled with her every year. This past summer, we went to Portugal, and obviously Portugal is known for their tile, and so we bought some tile back, and then I DIY framed them with some fabric behind them to make them more fun and whimsical. So there they are. I don't know what animals those are. We have an ongoing debate in my family about what animals those are, so open to anyone's feedback. I think it's a bull, a lion, and I don't know, maybe some sort of llama. My husband's convinced that's an elephant, and I don't agree. Again, my bathroom growing up, maybe it's what's influenced me. My bathroom mimicked my bedroom. So the bathroom that I had growing up had fabric wallpaper on the walls and ceiling, and it was laid out like you would an antique Victorian home. Like, it was a very beautiful bathroom. In hindsight, I mean, it's stunning. I didn't realize how good it was growing up. And so I think I've taken a lot from that today. I mean, New York City is the best city in the US. Sorry, it just is. And that's coming from somebody who was in LA for 13 years. It has its perks. But you have everything here, and I love that there's always a vibrancy. You can get anything at any hour. I just can't see myself moving to the suburbs because I personally feed off that energy, as does my husband, and so this is where we're gonna be. We currently live in Tribeca, which is well known. It's a great neighborhood. It is very family focused, so it's wonderful living here, but it's not my forever neighborhood. I much prefer tree-lined streets, a little bit more quiet. You won't get me in the suburbs, but I could see ourselves moving to Uptown or potentially even Brooklyn at some point. I don't really know, but we will be staying within New York City. Home means to me the place where my mental state is like actually at peace, and I'm not one of those people. I need to feel comfortable in my home. It's where obviously our family is, and it's where we spend most of our time, and it's where we like to be. Home is so important to us, and I rely heavily on the decorating and the aesthetic of home to really feel comfortable.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Camille Taylor. I can't wait to show you all around my apartment in New York City. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
I'm Camille Taylor. I'm an interior designer and decorator, and I live in New York City, and welcome to my apartment. So I've been living here for about 14 years. I think my daughter was 2 and she's 16 now. I needed more space, and I always loved these grand, stately buildings on Riverside Drive. And my husband at the time and I found this place, and you know, it was a mess. It was in a state condition, the apartment, and I had to knock walls down and reorient spaces. This room was a bedroom with this beautiful view of the Hudson River. Being near the park was really important to me. At the time when my daughter was little, I loved all of the tot lots and all of the little playgrounds that are just down the hill. It's quiet, very residential. It's New York, but it feels sort of quieter, and there's space and there's room to breathe. So this is my dining room. I want to talk a little bit about how this space started and evolved from when I first bought the apartment, where this wall was not here, and what is my living room was a bedroom. So I wanted to reimagine the space and give myself a dining room. And so I put this wall here, and of course the banquette is an amazing space-saving way to create, some circulation space and set up a proper table for 6 or 8 people. So this is a painting by a very dear friend of mine, Alan Hansen, and it's part of his Explosion series. He was living in Asbury Park at the time and watching the 4th of July fireworks. And he's mostly a landscape painter. So this is a landscape of sorts, but a skyscape, which I really love clouds and sky. And most of the art in my apartment has something to do with sky or clouds. Anyway, so this is an explosion of fireworks and the smoke that kind of lingers in the sky. And that's what is being shown here. I also love any sort of Aboriginal art or African art. I find those shapes and forms so appealing. And so these are a small pair of Aboriginal pieces, but I love how it works with my amazing Christian Ostugvier stool. This, I feel like if there's a piece in my apartment that's me, it's this. It's this crazy stool with a grass skirt that could get up and walk away at any minute. It's super fun. And then of course, my Schiaparelli bag. Just take a look at her. Even though this is a home tour, we're gonna do a bag tour of my little Schiaparelli bag, which we've named Henriette. And she's amazing and full of personality. So she's this beautiful oxblood color, which I've been obsessed with lately. Oxblood everything. And then of course, pink on the inside. So I think it's fun to mix metals. I realize this is a highly controversial topic. I mean, people are ready to, really draw a line in the sand about should we mix metals. I personally think why would you not mix metals? It's a little boring if everything's all the same. And for me, something really important, certainly in my home, and what I like to try to accomplish for my clients is something that looks collected over time, acquired. I got this piece from here and this piece from there versus, we went to a showroom and bought all this great furniture. So that feels really important to me. And so I like to mix metal, so I don't mind having, chrome on my sconces and this great chandelier by Jacques Jarige that I got from Valerie Goodman Gallery. She's amazing. And then again, I have brass here too. I have brass on my table. And then of course, lots of brown. All this, natural wood. I love oak. I love Cerussed oak. And I love all of the warmth of that brown. And then, a clean white wall, which some people are haters on white walls. I kind of love a white wall. But as you'll see later, I also love color painted. My office is pink. My bedroom is pink. And then this rich purple to give it some depth. I feel like this is my most sort of decorator moment, this sort of symmetrical arrangement here with, my pile of books, because I'm constantly buying books. I use them for work, but also for pleasure. I enjoy reading them and looking at all the beautiful pictures and learning about what all of the amazing decorators that I, work alongside and in the past, what they have to say, and that's how we learn. But anyway, these are just from an old antique store up in the Hudson Valley that I found. They were really inexpensive, but there's something about the symmetry and the balance of pairs that kind of elevates it and gives it like a moment. And that's sort of what's happening here. And then, of course, I couldn't just leave them alone. I had to embellish them a little bit with this necklace that I made from a strand of pearls that my mom gave me when I was 16, which was really sweet, but it wasn't my style. It really never was my style, pearls, although I like them more now. But anyway, I have a friend who's a goldsmith here in the city, and she took me to the Diamond District, and we found some beautiful coral and then had them restrung, and I think they're kind of fabulous. When I think about the art in my apartment, I guess it goes back to color and how I like to arrange things, but when I look around at my art, it's quite dark for the most part, lots of black and white. And it's funny because people say, oh, you have so much color in your apartment, but I think if you really dissect it, there's actually not that much color. It's just the way it's juxtaposed with everything else. They have a vibrancy, I think, and a life that pops out. And these amazing creative masks I got from Creel and Gow on the Upper East Side. And then these beautiful sketches are from my daughter, Georgia. She likes to do this sort of motif. And I think they sort of speak to, you know, a tribal, Aboriginal, they have that sort of vibe. And I think it's important to layer, you know, homemade things. I have homemade things that Georgia's made all over the apartment. Okay, so now we'll look at my living room. This is where I spend, you know, most of my time because all of my books are here, the television's here. Sometimes we like to have a TV dinner and watch a great show. When I think about the elements in this room, I mean, it's really very much a continuation of what is in the dining room, obviously because these rooms are so connected. And so I made a very deliberate choice to hang the mated pair chandelier from Jacques Jarige that's in the dining room so that these rooms feel more like one. Even though this is definitely specifically dining and this is definitely living. You know, big coffee table full of stuff, full of books, and people will come over and say, oh, do I need a coaster? And it's like, no, you don't need a coaster, and just put your drink on the books and just you know, live here as if it were, you know, your own house. And you know, I always have lots of little objects and things that feel special and fun to me, and I don't know, express sort of who I am, and that they're a little bit whimsy. It's like, yeah, I really like having a funny pair of, you know, glasses that are made out of clay. I think it's important to have sort of, for me, fun and whimsy things. Like, you know, my little frog collection here with all these amazing little frogs from different times of my life together. And then this is another piece by my friend Alan Hansen, who's a wonderful artist. We could maybe do like a little coffee table tour of my trinkets. I mean, it's kind of funny and it's a little bit silly, but you know, like here's a great example. My husband got me this little piece of sushi, but they're push pins because I always need pins to pin things on my boards. And so he got this for me. And then, so this became like my seafood section. You know, my friend bought me this amazing little caviar. I love caviar. On everything. She bought me this little knitted caviar piece, and then the sardines, I don't know, like just weird and funny and yummy ceramics everywhere. I think when we would travel on vacation to the Jersey Shore or Florida or California, you know, you want to collect and pick up shells, and then you know, you can't keep all of them, so you kind of curate and pick the best ones, but I thought these were amazing. They're called, I think they're called angel wings, you know, so, and they totally look like angel wings. So I just made this little, I don't know, tableau, a little tablescape. And then, you know, of course, there's like a gold bird skull, because who doesn't need a gold bird skull? Whatever, these are just the random things that I love and just arranged. And let's see, what else? Oh, this is one of my other favorite objects. I mean, I don't smoke. I don't need a lighter for any reason, but Lisa Eisner is an amazing jeweler, and she created this bronze, I don't know, lighter sheath. I don't know what you'd call it. And I just had to have it. So here it is, and here it lives. And it's, again, like, I don't need it for any reason. On occasion, I'll light a candle, but really I just like it out because it's beautiful and it's tactile and lovely to hold. And then, you know, this is sort of like the functional tray. Has like my nail file and my lip balm and my glasses and my clear nail polish as I need to do a touch-up as I'm watching a show or whatever. The Open Me container was when Georgia was little and we were going to one of those pottery places where you paint your own pottery. And it's funny, I had a moment of like a creative panic. It's actually really funny that we're talking about this. I had a creative panic. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with my box. I've just done this plain, boring glaze. I don't know what to do. And then I got this idea that I wanted her to open it. And then it says, I love you on the inside. And I thought, okay, perfect. It's perfect. And again, of course, there's more trinkets inside. You know, an old Chanel button, which I feel like somebody should do something with this. It's so cute. You know, lots of things. Old jewelry, paper clip, whatever you need, it might be in here. You lost something, it might be in here. And that's it. So if we want to talk about this piece, it kind of is on theme with clouds and sky and atmosphere. And I believe it's called the Green Room, and it's a real room in San Francisco. And the artist creates an actual cloud. This is an actual cloud in the room and then photographs it. And so it's this moment in time that he's capturing that will be gone because, as you know, clouds are so changing. And so that's just this one moment in time. And it's a great piece. It's a great background for a Zoom also. And I love it. Here at the corner, I love a tall side round table, by the way, if we just want to talk about some decorating real quick. In a room next to a sofa, I like to have something taller so that both of your end tables don't have to be the same size. As you can see, I have a taller piece over here and a different height piece here. Anyway, this is like the family corner. I always loved all of those sort of old kind of waspy interiors that had a round table. It was often skirted with fabric, which I also love, and then lots of family photographs. So this is my moment here. So it's lots of photos of me and my family. And then of course you have to have a Totoro that he is solar activated. So that's why he's moving now. And often when the seasons change, I'll know that spring is here because the way the light comes into the apartment, he'll start really rocking back and forth. And then I know, okay, spring's finally here. So this is a focal point. I feel like when you come into the apartment and you obviously want to come this way. And I love this piece by Servain Mary, and it's an oil on board. And it's just a beautiful image of a woman. I think she's singing, or maybe she's crying, or who knows what's happening here. But I love the colors. I think it's just perfectly suited for this little space. And then under it is this, I think it's granite. It's this incredibly heavy sculpture that we had in our house in Sedona, Arizona. And then when we sold the house, my brother was like, okay, what do you want from the house? And I was like, this is the only thing I want. So of course we had to ship this enormously heavy granite sculpture from Sedona, Arizona to New York. But I love it. I don't know, I love it every single day. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that that's also a really important part of living in your home and loving your home, is that you shouldn't really have anything in it that doesn't give you pleasure every single day to look at it. And that changes over time and that evolves. I think that you can say, okay, well, this doesn't really feel like me anymore. And so get rid of it, donate it, give it to somebody else. You know, I love to put things in the back stair here, and then, you know, the guys from the building will come in, take it away, and, you know, it's going to find a new home somewhere. So you're not throwing it away because that feels kind of wasteful. But I think that's an important part of feeling that comfort in your home, is that everything should really, really speak to who you are and what you love, to be very authentic. I would love to talk about the bookcase. I mean, this is our den in our living room and where we, you know, watch TV. And I didn't want a closed piece, and I knew I needed somewhere for all of my books. And so I just designed this recessed unit with a deeper shelf so that the TV could sit on it. I feel like I really love to layer a TV in front of or on a bookcase. I love it in a cabinet. And my amazing assistant, Bridget, made this for me. I'd given her some leftover fabric as I was clearing things out. I had a roll of fabric from my couch, and I was getting rid of it because I hadn't used it in 15 years. And then for Christmas, she made this for me. I mean, I don't know, she's not an upholsterer. She's amazing, she's an actor, but she made this for me. It's charming, I love it. She gets me. And what else? Okay, Miffy. We've been having a Miffy moment, and I love a surprise pack. And so, you know, you can get some surprise packs, and then you get a Miffy inside. And then continuing with the theme, I gave Georgia a Miffy on a sled, which is perfect for this winter because Lord knows we've had so much snow. Miffy on a sled, and then of course I forgot to put it away after Christmas, so we'll just leave her out until next Christmas. So you think this door goes somewhere, but it doesn't. It's just our, prepare yourself, toy closet. It's got, you know, the relics and detritus of life from raising a child here. You know, we've got all of her old books and yarn when she was into crocheting and fuse beads. And can we talk about these cutest little, aw, little cowboy boots when she was little? They're so sweet. Anyway, let's not get too deep in here because it's a hot mess, but there's some good stuff. Goodies, more obelisks, lamps, I don't know, puzzles, games. You've got to put this stuff somewhere. But the other thing I loved about this is when you think about this wall, framing it on either side with doors. I'm going to just close this so you can see and enjoy this decorator symmetrical moment that we have here, which is door, bookcase door. I mean, I like this. I love this. And this is my peach. It's made out of marble. I know. That's why it's here, because you couldn't possibly have like a real live peach. It would be rotted, but this one's made out of marble. So there's an artist from Salon 94 who makes enormous, enormous peaches, and I just sort of feel like everybody should have an enormous peach somewhere in their house. I don't have an enormous peach from this amazing artist, but I have this peach. Anyway, even know I had a cloud theme. I didn't even realize it myself. And my husband, Steve, pointed it out to me. He was like, you do realize that all the art, not all of it, but almost all of it is sky or cloud related. So as it relates to this cloud photograph is this beautiful ceramic cloud. And what better to do with a ceramic cloud other than make it gold? She's really pretty. I'll take her off the wall. I mean, again, just like so whimsy and sweet and charming. I mean, everybody should have a gold cloud on their wall. And it's like, you know, it's not really a major art location, but she's super sweet there. Anyway, this is where we also put our Christmas tree every year, so I have to carefully take her down and put her away for the Christmas season, but she's back up. And I think the last thing we'll want to talk about is the child's chair, the Keith Haring child's chair. You know, raising Georgia here, you need to buy children's things, right? But they're typically plasticky and ugly. So have children's things, but make them Keith Haring. Everybody always says, oh, I loved, you know, my grandmother's house and she had an amazing house, but my grandmother really did have an amazing house. And I don't think I knew it at the time, but I was absorbing details as I was growing up and spending time there. And I had lots of alone time and unstructured time there. And I would, you know, wander into the sunroom or go into her living room. And it was very different from my parents' house. We had a colonial house in New Jersey, which was beautiful too, just different. So I think those early formative moments and experiences got inside of me. And you had asked about creativity and have I always had that, and I have. I would spend hours sketching and drawing and cutting paper and collaging and doing all sorts of projects and art projects. And I can show you something like a phone that I decorated and painted one summer when I had mono and I was bored and I didn't have anything else to do. And then I, you know, meandered like you do through high school and college and always loved art, but found my way to art history. And it's an unusual major because, I don't know, it's almost like you should have a trust fund or something if you're studying art history. And I didn't really grow up like that. And I was so surprised that my family really supported me studying art history. I think they just had faith in me and knew that I would land on my feet and it would inform, you know, some sort of career. Okay, so before we go into my bedroom, I want to share my hallway. It's just the bedroom hallway, but I recently wallpapered it with this Brunswick and Fee wallpaper. It's classic. I can't remember the name of the pattern, but again, keeping on my brown theme, brown and white. I'm obsessed with this wallpaper. I don't know what took me so long to do this in my hallway. I think, and this is a little tip, like it's a pass through. We're always hustling and bustling and going from room to room into the bathroom and the linen closet. Don't ignore a space like this. I mean, this is what I do for a living, and I had ignored my own space for so long. And then when I wallpapered it, it transformed, and I love it. And this, sadly, was a sort of a junk collecting area. It used to hold, I used to keep my bicycle here. And then once I wallpapered it, I was like, I cannot put my bicycle back here. I've got to figure something out. And so there's a wonderful sculpture by my friend Stephen Antonsen. He's an amazing plaster artist. And it's called Pie George. And Pie George always needed a great space, a pride of place. And I didn't have a great home for him. So he's moved around the apartment. And then I thought, okay, this is it. This is where we're going to put him. And of course, I didn't have a pedestal, so I just gathered up a bunch of old Hermes boxes like you do and put it there. I mean, it's temporary, but I think it kind of looks great. And then, you know, my lamp is just like a whatever lamp, you know, very task-oriented, but I love that it has like an 80s vibe to it, and I'm not afraid to show a cord. So I don't care that my cord is like draped on the floor. Like, I think that that's charming. I love a cord, especially like, you know, those sort of twisted French cords. I very much like a sconce or a lamp where there's a cord showing. I mean, a lot of people don't like that, but I like that. I think it adds charm. So we're here in my bedroom, and I wanted a strong but restful color. So this is Cinder Rose by Farrow & Ball. And I feel like try it, do it in a bathroom, do it everywhere. It's a really good color. Everybody looks good with pink glowing against their skin. But it's sort of a pinkish purple. I don't know, it changes throughout the day. And I think that art over the bed is tricky. It's a tricky, you don't want it to look like a hotel. So what do you do? How do you deal with the wall, this massive wall over the bed, particularly when you come in? Because a bed in and of itself isn't all that interesting. So I had a mirror from, you know, many apartments ago. So I hung that, and it was feeling sort of bare. And so I tapped one of my besties, Marcia Bernstein. She's an amazing photographer, and she does a lot of fashion and runway and behind the scenes during all the fashion weeks. And I thought, you know what, I really want to do a gallery wall of her work. And it was really fun to sit together and look through her, you know, many incredible images. It was really hard, actually. But we did manage a way to, you know, find them, pick them, and here they are. And I love them, and I think about them every day. I think they're inspiring. It's more about creativity. And, you know, my friends I have so many creative friends, and it's nice to be able to, you know, work with them and showcase some of their things too. So we're going to come over here. I want to talk about some of the other things. And this is a beautiful heart-shaped dream catcher that Georgia made for me when she was little. And, you know, of course, she's my only child, and I love to have her bits and bobs all around the house. And I think this is just, you know, a necklace from, you know, Claire's or something, you know, from back in the day. And as she got older and would, you know, sort of deaccession her collection of jewelry and pieces that she no longer loved, some of them I just couldn't part with. So I would keep them and find a place to show them. So this is a great purse that I needed. I guess I'm having a theme of purse as art. Like I had a dress that I couldn't figure out, you know, what purse I wanted with it. So this is a beautiful little, it's kind of like a flapper handbag. And then what's under it is Georgia and I went to Hawaii, and they were making these shell crowns, which I think, like, who doesn't want like a shell crown? How's that look? Does it look nice? Anyway, you know, I can't part with these things, so I have to just have them. I think I'm going to be like an old lady someday with like dusty things, but everything has a story, you know, and I guess I didn't really think about it that way, but as I'm walking through the house and sharing this, everything really does have a story. It shouldn't just be like my decorator picked it out for me. Like, find things that have a story that you love and then hang them on your mirror. I do also want to share in the room, I love my bedside tables, and they're really sweet. They're made by Jake Zemansky, J.M. Zemansky, and he and I kind of worked together to design them. And I call my husband Steve the Rhino, and he calls me the Ladybug. And so when I was going to have these made, I was originally only going to do a rhino for him, and you can see the rhino here. And Steve will put his wedding band on here at night, like on his horn, and that's where he keeps it. And then Jake said to me, well, if he's the rhino, who are you? And I said, well, I'm the ladybug. And he said, all right, well, we'll put a ladybug on your side so I can come and show you that if you want to come and see. Here's the ladybug. Here she is. This is me. I'm the ladybug. And I do have binoculars at the bedside, but it's not to look in apartments. It is simply to check out the birds if we see any, or there are often the big ships that I was telling you about earlier. But of course today there aren't any. But I will often use these and look out and see what's what, if I can see any people on the ships, or sometimes I just look at New Jersey. So I wanted to talk also about, I just had Maki Yamamoto is a wonderful artist, and she works with textiles, and she had come to the studio here to show me and my team her work, and there was a sample that was this, hand painted, it was a small sample like this that she brought to the studio to show us, because I wanted to consider using her work in a project. And I thought, well, my plain sort of white silk curtains, which are from Pottery Barn, by the way, could do with a little, let's elevate these. So I sent these to her studio in Manhattan, and she recently painted them for me, and I think that they're just beautiful. So thank you, Monkey. I love them. So earlier, I think I mentioned my grandmother's house and how it was inspiring. And she had this one room, it was the sunroom, but I always thought it was the phone room because she had a chair. And, back in the day when people used telephones like this, she had a phone and a pad and lots of pencils near it. And so I would always love to have a phone room. And I think I would love to do Kips Bay. And if I ever do Kips Bay, I want to do like a phone room. Anyway, inspired by my grandmother. But this is a phone that a friend of mine gave me. And then one summer I was sick. I think I had mono, and I was bored, and I decided to embellish it and paint it and put little objects on it. And it was also inspired by the movie Desperately Seeking Susan with Madonna. And in it, she has like a jewel encrusted phone, and she picks it up and she's on her bed and she's like circling the want ads or something. And I was very inspired by that in the moment. I think if I could tell my younger self something, it would be to be patient, a little kinder, more forgiving, and know that it's coming. You're gonna get there. And I remember too feeling like, when am I gonna figure it out? And I'm not saying I have it figured out, but what I'm saying is it takes a long time. I'm 54, I'll be 55, and you just can't rush that. It comes with time and experience. And in fact, it would be a terrible shame to rush it and have all of that now, because all of those failures and ups and downs and mistakes, it's the only way to learn. And I remember saying to Georgia, my daughter, well, I guess you're gonna have to learn it the hard way. And then I started thinking about that, and I was like, what a ridiculous thing to say. Like, it's not the hard way, it's the only way. It's the only way to learn, and I would never want to rob her or anybody of those experiences, because that's how you have the confidence to say, no, this is what I want. I want that lamp, or I want this piece, or whatever it is, that confidence, it just takes time. It just takes time for it to be truly embedded and authentic. And if you don't have that, you kind of can't live in any kind of alignment if you're not authentically expressing who you are. It won't work. It won't work. Okay, so follow me and we'll go into the kitchen. Oh wow, these really perked up. I'm happy. So I wanted a classic kitchen that wouldn't date, so I wanted to go for like a butler's pantry vibe. So I just did like a classic, you know, shaker with a little detail inside. I love a black and white combo, you know, very clean subway tile and a slightly figured stone. This was before like stone got to be so dramatic in the decorating world. And again, I just feel like it's a nod to the traditional. It's really in keeping with the pre-war apartment. And I do cook. I can't say that I love to cook. I think when I do have time, I enjoy cooking. I just think it's like with working, work is what I really love to do. Cooking is not what I really love to do. Work is what I love to do. But when I have time, I enjoy it. And this is actually quite a serviceable kitchen. It really works well. So I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, I started drinking matcha. My friend Carrie Lynn introduced me to it, and I found it to have, I don't know if I'm just sort of conflating these things, but it had a very sort of uplifting feeling for me. So I continued it, and it's definitely a daily ritual that I thoroughly enjoy. I get matcha from Japan, and I have all of this is my latest matcha bowl. Isn't it sweet? Of course, it's got like a little Shiba Inu on the top and Mount Fuji. So Japan is at the top of the list. I think travel, of course, everybody, all of the decorators and designers say that too. Top of the list for, you know, inspiration. This is another one. This is one, I just think this is such a beautiful bowl, and I love how it's not round. It's almost like someone took it out of the kiln and they may have squished it a little bit, and I love that it's perfect and it's sort of imperfection. Life lesson there. That's it. We're not going to look at anything else in there. And what else? You know, of course, more delightful things from Georgia that she's made. You know, she made me this little, like, it's a building, but it's also a boat, and it's lived there forever. And, you know, I love having her things around the house. And of course, a hospitality cat. All right, so let's look at some other things in the kitchen. We have, of course, this little Polaroid wall of special places and special people. And of course, every time we open this door, they fall off. So I really do need to come up with a better way. And as we, you know, marking time with photographs, and we, you know, this is like a classic, you know, after school special kind of moment where you start marking your height as your child grows. And, you know, we would mark her little, you know, Stuffy down here, whose height was this, and then Georgia and onward. And then, you know, of course, we come over here and we celebrate and have a cocktail, all of the events. And this is a nice place to set up the bar. So there's a ton to talk about over here, all of the little bits and bobs that we continue in our bar area. You know, I don't even know where this came from, but I thought it was really cute. And I thought, well, I don't know what to do with it. Okay, we'll put it over here on the Classe Azul. And then I felt like the backs of cabinets often are ignored and probably shouldn't be. So I decided to wallpaper in the back of this here. And I just love the backdrop of this like tropical wallpaper. And then, of course, there's all kinds of goodies inside here, which, you know, it could take us all day to go through these, but I think we should point out our little paper doll of Georgia O'Keeffe. Isn't she lovely? You know, and I was sort of running out of space and didn't know where to put her, so she went there. So in designing homes for other people, I think what I've learned about myself is to trust myself and to put the idea out there and to be vulnerable, as scary as that is. It's like, if I want to show something to a client, don't hold back, just show them. Like, they've hired me. They want to know what I think is cool or what I think is fun or what I think is interesting. And the worst answer you'll get is, no, I don't really love that. What about that? Or, you know, and I love to say, like, I don't take it personally. I never take it personally when you don't like something I've chosen, but I always take it personally when you do, which is sort of a great way to bounce back from a perceived rejection, which it isn't even that. I don't know, I've been delighted many times when I've been hesitant to suggest something to a client, and then I go back because I'm like, I really need to suggest that wallpaper with the cherries on it, that scratch and sniff. It's out there and it's amazing. And I think I just have to trust myself and be confident and put it forward. And then they're like, oh, I love that. Let's do that in the powder room. And I'm like, yay. If I just trusted myself, we would have gotten there a little earlier. So again, back to the lessons that we're learning. I think that I now trust myself more and just go forth and put out there what I think is amazing for them. Okay, so we'll take a step into my office. Here is where the kind of heart of the interior design business is focused. We really use the whole apartment as the studio, but I'll often sit in here and answer emails, and obviously all of our materials are in here. We keep all of our stone and slab samples and tiles. We're working with beautiful materials all the time. And it's I call it small but mighty space where we work on our decorating projects. So the way we like to set it up in this space is this is the main project that we're working on right now. That's in its decorating phase. And this is a project in Telluride. It's a beautiful, large ski home right in town that we've been working on with some wonderful clients. And I like to lay everything out. And this is like a jumble of all of the rooms, like there's a powder room, there's a studio, a yoga studio, a master bedroom and bathroom, entry hall. And I like to put everything out because I want to see the color story and the through lines. I think that's important. So this is a fractal resin sample, and I think this is a beautiful material. And I did a console table for a client from this, and I asked the studio where we bought it, I said, can I keep the sample in my office? It's just a beautiful object. And so I keep it out as a, reminder, creative reminder. And, that's it. You got to put your push pins in something fun, obviously. These are little erasers, again, more trinkets from life. When Georgia was little, we would always collect these little, here's a little koala head. You can take them apart and then put them back together again. It's like little fidgety things. And then, I don't know, they're just so cute. I can't bear to not have them. So yeah, I leave them under my desktop. So that's a collage by Grace Weaver. A wonderful client and friend of mine introduced me to her work. And she has an incredible painting. It's probably, 7 by 7 in her living room. And she said, oh, you should really get something by Grace. And of course, I was delighted to get a collage. I do think all of these elements work together. And again, I do think that the brown, this is like a bronzy brown silk, and the brown in the floor create a strong sort of neutral grounding element. And frankly, this pink is it's like a neutral, is it not? Come on. Okay, and so then there is this moment of a striped ceiling because, I don't know, I just thought it needed a little something. And so let's do a black and white stripe on the diagonal. I don't know, it just felt really fun. But I do think, yes, if you were maybe putting this on a board or suggesting this to a client, they might say, well, I don't know if that works. And it's like, I don't know if it works. It's just I experiment and try it, and I think it does work. And I think I want to just sort of finish up the room by talking about this, final little corner over here, which is just, my door that I stripped all of the paint off of. It's just the service door to our back elevator. And, of course, I found a paper mache walrus with gold tusks, probably also at Creel and Gow. I feel like they're a place where I find, wonderful things, and hung it over the door, as if it were like a grand British estate. Just sort of my nod to that, but in a cheeky and humorous way. And then this is an interesting piece, a brand new canvas to paint your life on. I don't know, I just feel like we all need a canvas to paint our life on, and that's sort of what I've done here. And so it's a great piece for this space and for my home. So my favorite thing about New York, there's so many things. It's hard to pick a favorite thing. I've lived here for a really long time. And I think like most long-time New Yorkers, you have like a love-hate, like you get exhausted from it and you get energized from it. And that's the energy that gives so much and also takes a lot. And you have to restore yourself here. But I think it's the energy and the sort of, it's a little folksy, but like the can-do spirit, like you really can achieve and accomplish so much here. And I think that so many barriers kind of don't exist here. It doesn't matter where you're from or who your parents are or what they had or what you didn't have. It kind of doesn't matter. It's a meritocracy, I feel like, here. And I love that. I love that spirit and that energy of New York. What does the word home mean to me? For me, and I've been thinking about this because I had a sneaking suspicion you might ask me that. And I was sitting on my couch watching TV the other night and looking around at my home, and I felt very safe and warm, like an inside warmth, like truly safe, not as in like I'm worried someone's gonna break in, but like a safety where I can just be completely relaxed and myself, my rawest self. That's what home means to me, that I can be so safe and so comfortable that I'm my most true self.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Jared, and welcome to my apartment in Chelsea. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Jared Reichert, and I am founder of Riker Collective, a bespoke interior design and event planning firm here in New York City. And you're at my home in Chelsea, Manhattan. If I could give a 5-line bio about who Jared Reichert is, I would say first and foremost, smiley, joyful, optimistic, passionate about design and experiences, and a lover of life. So I found this place through a dear friend of mine who had it in her real estate portfolio. And she said, hey, I have a cute duplex apartment in Chelsea along the High Line. It needs a major gut renovation, but you might be interested. I came over to the apartment one rainy afternoon, not an ideal time to see it, but I saw the potential. I saw the beautiful high ceilings, I saw the skylight, I saw the private roof terrace, and I saw a staircase. And I'm obsessed with stairs, so I was like, I need to have this apartment. So we made it happen. So prior to moving in, about 30 days ahead of the movers arriving to the apartment, I got a phone call from my contractor who was just completing all the construction and refurbishments inside the apartment. And I was on a plane, so I couldn't get a hold of him when he told me to call him and as he texted. And I was like, why isn't he answering? I can't get in contact with him. Finally, when I landed, I got the worst news. There was a fire on my roof deck and all the work that we had completed had been lost. Now, I had no idea what to do because I had already signed off my other apartment in the West Village. I had found a great tenant for it, and I didn't want to ruin her first New York City apartment experience. So at that point, I was basically homeless, and I said, what am I going to do? I walked in, I think I cried for about 20 minutes, and then I was like, you know what? It's all meant to be. At that point, I wasn't really changing much on the roof deck, but now I had no choice. So I got to design a roof deck that I actually really wanted and got to really adapt my style, my energy, and my vibrations into the space. Welcome to my living room. So this space here is flooded by natural light. So of course I had to have beautiful lamps that were gonna go with this gorgeous sunlight. So I have my Luigi Mazzioni vintage lamps from like the 1970s, fantastic additions to the apartment. The Golden Girls art, which I'm obsessed with on the back wall, which was the inspiration behind the entire apartment. And then of course you have to have your staples. I love my Eames collection. So my Eames lounge chairs, coffee table, the Elson Studio sofa from DWR, a fantastic addition. And I'm debating, do I add another section? Because it can become as sectional. So if I want to get more cuddly with somebody, I can just get another middle piece. I absolutely love my Vitra cork stools. They're fantastic because they're great as both side tables and also additional stools for when people want to sit around the living room. And then my dear friends from Patterson Flynn gave me this stunning carpet. I've been wanting this carpet for years and years and years, and I finally got it, so I'm very happy. Thank you, Leslie. And then when it comes to my entertaining section, so I'm not a huge fan of TVs. I don't really watch that much TV, so I decided to go for the Samson frame. I know a lot of people are worked up about the whole concept that a TV looks like art. I get it. I think Nate Berkus or Jeremiah Brent maybe said something about that. But when you're in a small space like this, and it just works. So I'm doing it. I'm unapologetic about it. I don't care. But I just blend it nicely with a vintage console, the Atolo lamp, and just some good finds and good books I found during my travels. So these are my two favorite pieces of art. They are silk screens by Dennis Friggs. I found them on Cherish. I had been watching them for basically years and finally found a set that was worthy of coming to Manhattan. So I got them. It reminds me of the Golden Girls. It's Blanche, Dorothy, Sophia, and Rose all in one. I've never been happier. And I've never really stood back to really look exactly what it is, other than pure joy for me. So everything in the living room has to have a story, and that story is pops of pink. So when I was coming together to figure out what accessories I wanted to put on my coffee table, it had to be perfect. So I found these cute little coasters online, mixture of pastels and all the different colors, of course, that match the paintings and the art. A dear friend of mine, Jonathan, @Jonathan on Instagram, makes these incredible ceramic cigarette holders, which are quite hilarious. I actually stole this one from I think his 36th birthday. He's always been 36, but his actual 36th birthday, I don't think I've ever told him that, but I stole it from you. I love this annual magazine called Crotch, and their covers are always so stunning. That is a fuzzy peach bottom, which is very pretty because it matches the nude tones of the house. Then I love Marilyn Minter. She did this great collection called Elder Sex that is just the most stunning collection of photographs of elder sex, and the colors again all match perfectly in the apartment. So I am born and raised in a small farming community in Macklin, Saskatchewan. Actually, about a half an hour south of Macklin in a hamlet of Cactus Lake, which has 3 people, a post office, and that's it. After 18 years, it got a little bit tiring, and so I moved off to Toronto, Canada, and I went to school at Ryerson University. During my time in Toronto, I ended up having a great connection with the local Gucci store. I was an intern, and one day I wasn't supposed to show up to work, but I did because there was an event happening in the boutique on December 1st, World AIDS Day. And I walked in and asked how I can help. And sure enough, that landed me a job in New York City because I put myself out there. I met an incredible mentor of mine, James Knight, who brought me from the rolling plains of Saskatchewan to the big city lights of New York City. While I moved to New York, I was at Gucci for 3 years, and I got a phone call to come join Tom Ford. And I was at Tom Ford running the events and visual department for almost 8 years, traveling around the world, opening up all their stores, all the fun events and parties in store. It was a magical, magical time. It just got a little too much for me, and my life living on an airplane kind of got a little bit old. So I decided I can step away and start my own events and interiors firm, which is what I did. So I had one client, and I just invested all of that time into that one client, which then turned into 2 clients, 3 clients, 4 clients, and so forth and so forth. So 8 years later, running my own business, of course it has its own challenges, but it is probably the most fulfilling chapter I've had in my life. It gives me the freedom, the autonomy, the creativity that I've always desired, and I get to invite people like you into my home to share the things that I love so very much. So welcome to my dining room. Now, because it's an open concept kitchen, from kitchen to dining to living, I wanted to create some division in the space. So originally I had thought dining table in the corner, underneath the light, but then I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna do a natural separation, have a 6-person dining table right in the center, and accessorize it with some polyeth chairs. This mirror is a vintage mirror I found online on First Dibs. It comes from Berlin, Germany. I don't know the designer's name, but it follows the trend in the apartment, which is lots of curves. Some mornings I just like to admire myself at this mirror, like today, wearing my beautiful outfit from Jamestown, Hudson, to my dear friends Tom Mendenhall and James Scully's gorgeous store, and this brand is called Mono Italy. A great hosting tip that I like to follow is multicolored glassware, because how many times have you gone to a cocktail party, you put down your glass, and everyone's glass is the exact same? Now, I like to have multicolored versions of that, so you always know Jared's pink and you're blue. So come over here to see my latest obsession, my Kato Koji platters and dinnerware. Now, I am mildly have an addiction to Memphis design, so I collect it. I find this all on eBay. This was the Carnival collection, which is absolutely silly, but it is my energy on a plate. Basically sporadic, crazy, fun, colorful, it's me. So I've been collecting those over the last few years, and adding into that collection are the glassware. Found these incredible mugs, which I'm also obsessed with, and what's even more special, the matching plates, so I can have a real fancy tea party, which I am obsessed with. When it comes to my glassware, I love the company called Mono NYC. They do these incredible, very beautiful, multicolor, multi-tonal glassware with contrasting colors. And I like to mix them all together to create a very vibrant kitchen display. One of my biggest things was to be able to see all of my glassware and dinnerware because I love it so much. So it was very important that that's the first thing I see when I come home, come down the stairs, and start my day. And then, of course, the king of Memphis sculpture and ceramics, Peter Shire. Love my Peter Shire mugs. And when I'm in the mood for just a little shot of espresso, the matching espresso cup. They're all numbered and editioned. These ones are from 2023. He still operates a studio out of Los Angeles, California. So these are my other fancy mugs, Peter Shire, limited edition. They number them every year when they come out. So this is from the 2023 collection. The colors were spot on to my apartment. It was also the year that I took possession of this space. Now, if I'm not in the mood for a big cup of coffee, I've got my cute little espresso cups in the same splatter paint pattern. Now, I only have one machine on my counter, and it's this Pavoni espresso machine. It makes the perfect cappuccino, macchiato, any espresso-based coffee you'll ever have. It's super simplistic. I feel like I'm on an airplane when I'm running it or in a vintage car, but it makes the perfect cup of coffee. So when I first came into the apartment, it was a U-shaped kitchen. So where I was standing right here was an island that turned into a sink, that turned into an oven, that turned into really bad espresso cabinetry from like the 1990s. It was disgusting. Not like good 90s, bad 90s that we all wanted to forget. So I wanted to open up the space, so I just created this standard L exposed shelving. So again, I could display all of my beautiful glassware and dinnerware. And then I wanted to conceal all of my things that I didn't want to necessarily see all the time. So the fridge and freezer, all hidden behind the panels and cabinetry done by Reform. Also the freezer, the dishwasher, all of the must-haves if you're going to want to have a functioning kitchen. Now, of course, I would love to have more counter space, but you can't have everything in Manhattan. Now, if I had unlimited budget, I would redo all of my bathrooms to be in my current inspiration, which would be seamless Corian. Now, I know you think that's crazy, but it is gorgeous because I'm a clean freak, and right now I have tile and I hate having to scrub all the mildew. Corian is perfect all the time, and because of that you can have a flawless bathroom, and mix that with some fun colors, some great accessories, and of course great faucets and hardware, you're set. So I found this abstract Patrick McCarthy also online, and I thought this needs to be front and center when you come up the stairs into the apartment. So I wanted to give it its grandeur appeal here in the recessed area, and then accessorize it with an actual functioning sideboard. This baby is jam-packed with all the goodies for entertaining. All of my alcohol, extra glassware, linens, etc. Then for the top, I just wanted to bring some of my favorite things. So I'm absolutely obsessed with this. This was also a huge inspiration, this vintage book. It's all about freestyle and the design movement of Los Angeles in the late 80s, early 90s. And then of course, my affinity for love for the LA area with the Los Angeles Taschen book. And then this silly guy. Now, if there was a candlestick that had my personality, it is this. It's wiggly, it's fun, it's got energy galore, and this incredible company that I found called Huber Trading Post, fellow Canadians in downtown Toronto, do these crazy swiggly candlesticks, which I'm also obsessed with. So love this guy. Having greens in my apartment was also very important because the rooftop, of course, is a luscious garden, but I wanted to bring that language inside. So I wanted to find varieties that could work in semi-sunny, semi-shady occasions. So we've got, a traditional ficus rubber tree, which is right over here, that grows. She sheds a lot. She needs a little bit of love. I have to move her sometimes in front of the window. And then we also got a good little citrus tree over here as well. I wanted to bring some light to the stair area and sort of bring the greens up against the walls. One of the things I love the most about this apartment was the staircase. Now, when I first purchased the place, it had a closed off stairwell with a door right here. And the first thing I said was that needs to be blown out because I want to see that beautiful grandeur, grand staircase up to the second level. Now, when it came to the treads itself, I was like, what do I do? Do I carpet it? Do I try to match the wood to the wood on the floors here? And eventually said, you know what? Let's just carry the pink upstairs and paint the treads pink to match the kitchen. And everyone was happy. So my style in interior design and event planning really works very closely with the style of the client. Now, of course, I have my own aesthetic, which is why you're in my home here. But when I'm working with people such as a dear friend of mine, Lauren Stevens, who is the head of Dudley Stevens, I really wanted to work with them to create a space in Greenwich, Connecticut that related to their family, to their lifestyle in the suburbs of New York, but in the beautiful town of Greenwich. So we worked very closely with them and came up with a scheme that both lent itself to their family, but also the environment that they were physically in every single day. When it comes to my own personal style, now that is depending on what vibe I'm going through that year, that day, that month, that moment. Right now, I'm loving pastels, joyful, colorful, experiential patterns, etc., that I really thrive in that energy and that vibration. After being at Tom Ford for so long, where everything was very gray, monochromatic, very sleek and clean. I kind of threw that all away to the side and said, I want light, bright, and positive. So that's why you're here. So when it came to the designing of this apartment itself, I fell in love with the 14-foot high ceilings and the open skylight in the living room. It reminded me of my home in Palm Springs, which is flooded by light. So I wanted to bring that same energy from Palm Springs to the bustling city of New York City. So I wanted to highlight that beautiful abundance of light with light colors that were going to be more reflective, give the space that sparkle that it deserved. So I chose a lot of ivories, pastels, muted blush tones, etc., to give it that clean and calmness that I like. Welcome to my guest bedroom. So it was very important for me to have a space in New York that could welcome people in. Now I've had friends from East Coast, West Coast, overseas, underseas, staying in this space, and I wanted to create a unified experience of my living room to the guest room. So we created these fantastic pocket doors that silence all of the goodies that are happening in the room, but also create that privacy and space that each person wants to have when they are residing here in Casa Pink Palace Pony Club, Chelsea. When you come into the bedroom, again, I wanted to create this sort of idea, this serenity in Manhattan. So for this bedroom, I took a lot of inspiration from my sister Jenna's childhood bedroom. She had the most beautiful scalloped linens, and I remember being a little boy and wanting to always crawl into her bed because it felt so cool, yet so warm and so inviting and comforting. So I wanted to create that same ambiance here for my guests as well. Now, taking that whole scalloped vibe, I found these fantastic vintage Italian sconces from the postmodern era, as well as accents to the space. A fantastic postmodern abstract painting as well. This one also is super controversial with my friends because they're like, did you paint it? Is this really from the 1970s? I'm like, it is. I love it. I don't care what they say. I love, love, love this pencil reed mirror, also found online on First Dibs. I get into these fun bidding wars with all these other postmodern addicts like myself. Of course, in case of emergency, I don't need to explain that. You know what that is. And then this is my latest new fun accessory. This is from my best friend, Robbie, and it's gay spray. So if you want to be gay, you just spray and you're gay. Obsessed. That was my birthday present this year. So this was the very first piece of vintage furniture that I was gifted from my dear friend, Michael Deichman. This is an Ernest Race antelope chair from the 1950s. Now, these were stackable. They were produced in mass because they were apparently the future of mass seating. They didn't fall into favor so quickly, but they have become great collector's items, and I'm thankful enough to have two. The side tables also follow this curvature, softness that's happening throughout the apartment, but I wanted to bring in a new material. So they're white, they look light, but they are solid stone, heavy as bull. But they're great as an accent to this space and pulls the whole bed area together quite nicely. Now, a lot of friends make fun of me. They say you live in a pink pony palace, which I kind of do live in a pink pony palace, and I'm okay with that. I am super confident when it comes to color, and I realize that it might not be everybody's choice, but for me, it's absolutely perfect. And I invite all of you to go out and choose your favorite color and design your house in that color, because it makes it a lot of fun, because all the accessories go together, the lamps go together, the flowers go together, the candles go together. It's a cohesive story, and that's so exciting to build. And I took a lot of reference from Memphis design, from a little bit of postmodern design. They're kind of like these forgot about design movements that people like to forget, but there are some really iconic pieces that came out of those moments. And I wanted to bring them back in life, but give them a fresh take. Now, I'm not designing the entire house in, zigzags and stripes and all the mixture of patterns, but what I'm doing is creating a space that invites all these pieces in. Let me take you upstairs to where the magic happens. Now, welcome to the primary bedroom. This is where the magic and the sleep happens. So this is just right off of the roof terrace. So again, it was very important for me to have this abundance of light by the moment that I wake up, and also view of my garden that I tend to all summer long. So creating a space that was fluid to what was happening downstairs, but also maybe masculine it up a little bit. So I wanted to bring in a couple of new colors that all are still within that sort of warm hues, nude palette. So I brought in a little bit of rust, I brought in a little bit of beige and white, but I wanted it to be very clean, comforting, yet sexy and approachable. So I wanted to work with a couple different designers on some of the pieces. So I got this great bed from First Dibs, from a great vendor out west. Of course, I love my parachute sheets. So my parachute linens, which are a must-have in all of your homes. I don't get anything from them, by the way. That's just truly from my heart. So a few of my favorite items in my primary bedroom are this fantastic vintage Eames side table, which I purchased decades ago, and I'm happy that it finally found a home that it's really, really happy in here in Chelsea, and it came back to life. I am obsessed with my pendant lights. I have them throughout the apartment. It was important to me to have pieces from the mid-century moment, and also reflects back to my time in Palm Springs. So these are the bubble lights from Nilsson. And again, another one of my antelope chairs by Ernest Race. Now, this is the longest relationship I've ever had. This is my childhood teddy bear. It is nearly 40 years old, and she has been with me, or he has been with me through thick and thin. So I like to just set him on my chair every single night because I know he's always watching over me and sending me good vibrations. When it comes to my bed itself, I love Parachute. Parachute makes the most incredible linens, from their quilts to their duvet covers to their pillowcases and to their fitted sheets. I'm obsessed, so I thank you, Parachute. And then my art up here. So a dear friend of mine gifted these incredible pieces in photography. I've got one downstairs and one upstairs from Noah Klasbald. She's an Israeli photographer. Obsessed with her and her pieces. It's kind of flirtatious. You don't know what's happening. What are these boys getting themselves into? It's up for the viewers, own discretion to sort of figure out what that is. So I found this triptych at Misty's in Rancho Mirage. Now, if none of you have been to Misty's, it is a must visit. It's my favorite thing to do on a Saturday and Sunday. It's the most epic consignment store in the Coachella Valley. She has everything. So I found these pieces for literally almost nothing, but then ended up spending a ton of money sending it back to the East Coast. But I love how all the colors flow perfectly and seamlessly into the rest of the roomscape. During the fire, we had to replace basically all the windows on the second floor here because the fire department just came in and brutalized the entire department. But thank you to them because they got the fire out. But because of that, we had to put in new windows. So it was important to put in new top-down windows. Again, it had to be of code and what was there before, so we couldn't have too much flexibility of what we would do there. But I am a big believer of natural sunlight. My boyfriend, on the other hand, loves blackout shades. So this week, we finally put in a blackout shade. I don't like drapery, so this is a big step for me to step into this new blackout moment. But I will say I have slept better the last 3 nights because of it, so thanks, Tyler. So my favorite thing in this apartment is very hard to answer. However, I love my art, and I love the art in every single room because it's all found art that I found at local markets in Palm Springs, in Los Angeles, in New York, on Cherish, on First Dibs, etc. I had a theme. I had a desire to create this Pink Pony Palace meets Golden Girls meets, Palm Springs abundance of kitsch in a way. And I thought, you know what, let me find pieces of art that create and bring this whole energy alive. So it was really fun piecing all the things together. This was the first piece that I bought right behind me for the apartment, ahead of all the furniture and everything, because I saw it, and I saw Dorothy, I saw Blanche, I saw Rose, and I saw Sophia, and I was like, I am obsessed. I need that piece of art, and I'm gonna design the entire apartment around these color stories. So once the fire happened on the roof deck, it was time for us to come in and sort of reimagine the space and create a functional space that I can both entertain, have guests over, do yoga on, and basically have my morning rituals, which are coffee, sunlight, and a nice solid vinyasa flow. So we wanted to have a space that combined all of those different elements, but also was super functional and could withstand a New York City winter. So we had to work with existing materials that we knew were allowed amongst like the permitting process. So we did choose wood. It's actually like synthetic vinyl wood of some sort, I forget the name of it. But we had to work with that and then create built-in planters that would create sort of a boundary and a circumference around the space and sort of envelop you into the foliage, into the floral, into that vibration of nature. And then I wanted to bring in some varieties of plants that were reminiscent of our home in Palm Springs, but also were native to New York. So we have mixes of yuccas, we have cedars, we have hydrangeas, which is very East Coast. I'm not the biggest fan, like Madonna, but I make it work. So it was all about mixing these different varieties and coming together. And I worked with this incredible landscape designer, Carrie York, and he really helped me create a space that both lended itself to my New York City life and Palm Springs existence. So I was very, very grateful. When it comes to furniture, I wanted things to be light and bright, similar to the interior, as it's an extension of the home, but also materials that, again, could survive New York City winters, that would allow us the flexibility to move it up 5 flights of stairs, and also the easeability to cover and store things during the winter. So overall, it all came together pretty flawlessly. 2 years in, it's still developing, and I'm learning a little bit more about rooftops, because in the middle of the summer, it's 115 degrees up there, and in the middle of the winter, it's 115 degrees negative. So it is very extreme, and finding the right varieties and the right materials that work on a sun-baked roof is a challenge in itself, but a challenge that I love to have. Now let me take you upstairs to the pied de résistance. My French isn't that great. It should be good though, because I'm Canadian, but this is the magical roof garden. Now, welcome to my roof garden. Now, this is my sanctuary in the middle of Manhattan, and working with Carrie to create this space was a labor of love. Now, it's always evolving and it's always changing, because the plants have a mind of their own. But let me show you all the beautiful varieties we have upstairs. So first and foremost, we wanted to create this abundance of floral display on the front side of the terrace. So this is the front side of the townhouse on this over here, but I wanted to create this gorgeous meadow and be an abundance of varieties of floral extending from east to west. So we have agaves, we have marigold, we have Russian sage, we have sunflowers, we have rosemary, we have everything, trailing cypress. We've got all of these beautiful varieties that create this magical display of floral. So I wanted to create an extension to my living room downstairs so I could have rooftop parties, charade nights, dinner parties, etc. So I wanted to create that same energy upstairs. So we have a beautiful sidebar. This is from a dear friend of mine, Ross Cassidy's collection for CB2. We've got the traditional pedal table by Richard Schultz from DWR. We have the flower pot lamps. These are fantastic additions to any outdoor space because they were all wireless. And then our dear friends at Blue Dot got gave me this beautiful perch collection, which I absolutely love because it has the simplicity and mundanity of New York City, but also the aesthetic of California and my love for Palm Springs. When it comes to the hedges, it was important to sort of block off the neighbors a little bit. So wanted to put in a little back hedge, create that natural living wall behind the sofa, and then accessorize it with a mixture of ceramic pots, concrete pots, etc., to sort of bring some depth to the space itself. Now, this is the skylight. I always get petrified that someone's gonna step on this, but it is tempered glass, so no one will fall in and die, hopefully, if they go there. But this is the magic part because all the light comes in. But because this is in the middle of the space, I wanted to create a bench so you could have additional seating. So where I'm standing right now, because the floor is a little hot, are 3 great seats for people. So everyone during the parties is congregating around this skylight so they can enjoy the fun. Now, this is the silliest thing in the world that was gifted to me by my friend and best friend, Lauren Solomon, and her beautiful husband, Michael Politi, is this tricycle. And I finally realized this week why they got this for me. And I realized that it's because it's my inner child. I love to be reminded every single day that at the end of it all, we're all little kids that want to play. And this is a reminder that don't take life too seriously. Go for a ride. So in this house, there are room for 2 queens. And of course, it's Queen Madonna, my favorite Stephen Klein, which was gifted to me from a dear friend of mine. And I like to be reminded every day I come home and every day I leave that she will always be the queen. What does home mean to me? That's a loaded question because I've spent a lot of time thinking about this question in a very vast array of environments. And home for me has been where I am at that exact moment in time. And as I've realized throughout my life and throughout my career, there are different moments of home. It's cities, it's careers, it's partners, but ultimately it's a space that we come back to. And it's a space that you can authentically be yourself, a space that you can open yourself up to be the most authentic version of yourself. And I believe that home is that extension of you. Now, it is a material item, so I know that there is a frivolous about that, but there is a comfort knowing that when you come home and you put your head on your pillow in a space that you've designed, that you've created, that is a combination of all of your worldly, personal experiences, there is a softness to that, and that softness is home.